Okay, welcome everyone to today's webinar, 27th of May 2025. Today we have, I'm quite excited about this, applications of web scrape data for the CPI. And we have today the experiences of 3 NSOs who are going to share their work on web scraping price data. My name, for those of you who don't know, is Kerry Regan, and I'm a consultant with ECA, and I'm focused on supporting the work of the UN Regional Hub for Africa, and I'm the one who's always hosting and the face for these webinars at the moment. If you're curious to know more about us, there's a QR code on the screen, and you can find out more information there. So, this webinar is brought to you by the UN Regional Hub for Africa. Well, what is that? For those who are new to this community, it's a collaboration between the National Institute of Rwanda and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa. And we're focused on ensuring that member states are fully supported on their journeys to modernize and transform official statistics. And you can see some of the things that we try to provide there on the screen. But what are we doing today? Well, we are going to hear, as I've just said, from a mixture of speakers today who are going to showcase some different aspects of the CPI basket of goods and web scraping those items, and some of the challenges that they've had and how they've overcome them. I think they've been on a training program since late 2023. Our first 2 speakers will confirm that in a moment, but we have Luigi Palumbo of the Bank of Italy and Federico Polidoro of the World Bank, and they've been issuing training in web scraping prices, the CPI, over a matter of years with NSOs from Africa. And they've been supporting a group of NSOs recently to look at alternative data for the CPI. So Luigi and Federico are going to set the scene for us today, and then we will have presentations from 3 different African NSOs who will be sharing different aspects. Now, my apologies for my pronunciation of names, but first up will be Peter Kamo of the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics. He will be sharing experiences web scraping grocery prices for the CPI. Next up, we have Edgar Niimpa and Robert Tumushimi of Ugandan Bureau of Statistics, who are going to share their experiences of web scraping smartphone prices. And then finally, we'll have Frank of the Côte d'Ivoire National Statistics Agency, will share how they have dealt with item classification issues from web scrape data. These are all important aspects to consider when you're trying to incorporate this data into your processes. The wider teams who have received training are also here, may be part of the Q&A. I wanted to say as well that there may be some people in the audience from other NSOs who've received training from Luigi in the past, back in 2022, again with web scraping prices for CPI, and some of those NSOs, for example, Nigeria and Senegal, they are now getting ready to implement web scraped prices into their processes. And we're going to have some blog posts soon to share with all of you on that. But back to the agenda. Once we have had our presentations, we've got a really good session, Q&A session, 25 minutes allocated, where you can all ask your questions. Raise your hands and we will switch on your microphones, or put your question into the Q&A channel where we can find it. We are recording today's webinar. We will be sharing the link to the recording. We will share links to all of the presentations that are shared today. Right, I have spoken enough. This webinar is not about my voice, it's about the voices of our presenters. So I am going to hand over to Luigi and Federico, who are going to set the scene for us.
Yes, thank you, Kerry. Thank you so much. Do you hear me well? Yes.
I hear you well.
Oh, okay, great. So thank you so much. Thank you for organizing this webinar. That is a moment to take the stock of a lot of activities that we have run in the past couple of years about web scraping. I'm here together with Luigi and together with the presenters to share with all the participants the experience we had after the starting point, I would say, of this program and of this activity, or better, an intermediate step that came after the program on web scraping that was concluded in Rwanda. This intermediate step was the training on site that we had in Perugia in July 2023, where many national statistical institutes, about 12, met together with me, Luigi, and other trainers to discuss in general about modernization and innovations of CPI. So in this sense, the training was larger in terms of scope. But it was an intermediate step of a program that started with the webinars, round of webinars, and with the Rwanda workshop, Kigali, in Kigali, and that went on in a mentoring program that started with the colleagues of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, of the Kenyan Bureau of Statistics, and in parallel with the round of meetings with the colleagues of Anstat from Ivory Coast. And we are here together with the colleagues from Anstat, UBOS, and KMBS to discuss some of the results that were obtained after these cycles of activities that took place after the training of July 2023. Kerry already illustrated the today's program and the three presentations. Together with Luigi, I would like to focus your attention on the three main topics that we are going to discuss today, beyond the specific references that are within the titles of the presentations, and that are related to one of the components of the modernization and innovation in CPI compilation, that is, as you know, the web scraping activities, the web scraping technique to obtain prices from the web in order to compile consumer price indices. And the three topics are the targeted web scraping, the bulk web scraping, and the classification issues. Because the three presentations and the three lines of discussions that we had with the colleagues from the different national statistical institutes were focused on these three main issues that are part of the implementation of web scraping techniques. The colleagues from Kenyan Bureau of Statistics, we worked a lot with them on within this program, mentoring program that we had in the last year and a half. We'll focus the attention on how data can be collected through a targeted web scraping approach. That means focusing the attention on specific products already predefined before the activity of scraping the data from the web, and how the results have been obtained, and how the results can be treated in order to compile CPI. The presentation from the colleagues of Uganda will focus mainly on the issues of bulk web scraping. So when you collect prices without a predefined specification of the items that you are going to collect, which prices you are going to collect, even if they are referred to a specific product that is smartphone. And of course, they will present some of the issues that you have when you detect, you collect, you capture price information for some products that present specific problems as smartphones, because are products that are prone to change very frequently and to change their characteristics, the characteristics that are available on the market very frequently. This means that we have to treat in a specific way the products in order to compile the indices, the consumer price indices. The third presentation from the colleagues from Ivory Coast will be focused more on the issues of classification. That is another big issue that we have when we use web scraping technique to capture price information from the web, because of course CPI are in general compiled following classifications that are different from the classification that are used for the products that are available on the web. You have EAN code, barcode, identifiers that are different from the COICOP, that is in general the classification that is used to aggregate, to compile the indices. So the problem of matching how the products that are collected on the web to the COICOP classification is one of the main problems that we have when we try to use this alternative data source for the aims of consumer price indices compilation. So we will do together a travel through these three main issues, and I hope that the discussion will allow us to go into more details and to open maybe more issues, or to find some answers to the issues that you are facing in your current activities. Last point, then I give the floor to Luigi. What was important in this experience was the continuity. So we didn't keep the webinar in Kigali, the training in Perugia as episodes. We tried to give continuity to what we learned together with you in order to implement in practice what we learned together. And this is a programmatic idea also for the future. That means that as World Bank, together with the United Nations Regional Hub and with Kerry and the colleagues, we have the intention to go on. So to prepare and to draft and to think to a program for after the summer, to start after the summer, in order to give more structure, more organization to what we did in the last year and a half after the July 2023, almost 2 years, in order to go on in giving continuity and in helping and in discussing and in learning together with you how to translate into the practice of the National Statistical Institute the lessons and what we learned all together. So I think this was one of the main important outcome that we have obtained together with all of you. And I want to thank the colleagues from the National Statistical Institute, from Ivory Coast, from Kenya, and from Uganda, from the great participation and collaboration they gave during our meetings and the mentoring program. It's all on my side. Luigi, please.
Yeah, I mean, on my side, what I just want to add is a couple of things. So one, in terms of the continuity, as you said, I mean, the result that we are presenting today is not that much that the work we did together with UBOS, KMBS, and ASTAT, but it's the work that they did in between our meeting. Because our meeting were just, let's call it some checkpoint, some discussion, but the work it come from them and for their everyday application of what we discuss. And in terms of technology, I will say that we also explored a lot of different way to solve the issue that we faced. From both the web scraping, so different way of doing web scraping, but also afterward for the data classification and let's say, and processing. We used some advanced AI tool, also in terms of machine learning, text embedding, but also large language models to help make sense of the data that we scrape from the web and extract all the unstructured information that were available. So we're very happy that through the discussion we start to implement a quite advanced way to process information and help to help the modernization of the CPI. And with this, I will say that it's all for me, and I will leave the floor to the colleagues to present their work.
Thank you, Federico and Luigi, for that introduction. Peter, are you ready to share the work from Kenya?
Yes, thank you so much. I think I'm ready to present. Can I?
You can share your screen.
My presentation. Okay.
Kerry, just while Peter is sharing another point that I forgot, the work that we did together with the Kenyan and Uganda colleagues was presented in the Geneva meeting of UNEC experts of consumer prices. That was another important result of the work done together at the end of April.
Thank you. Peter, I can see your screen. Do you want to go into slide presentation mode? That might look better for us.
Is it okay now?
I can see it, but would you like to go into presentation mode?
Is it on presentation mode right now? From my side, it's on a presentation mode. I don't know whether it's the same on your side.
I can see all of your screen. I can see slides down the side.
Give me a minute. I try to. Is it okay now? The presentation mode?
No, and it's okay. If you want to move through the slides as it is, I will let you know if there's a problem with the slides transition.
Maybe that sometime if you click on the button close to that of a slideshow, you sort out the issue. It's
yeah, you're on it.
The button with the pages open. I don't know how. It's exactly on the left. Exactly that one. Sometimes.
Is it okay now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it okay now? Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and welcome to my presentation. As you have heard, my name is Peter Kamam from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. I'll be taking you through this presentation, and on behalf of my other colleagues, as you have heard, this was a joint project with my other colleagues, namely Sarah, Penina, Sagir, and Michael from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. We have had a lot of insights from this program, especially from our facilitators and a team of experts. That is Federico and Luigi, Federico from the World Bank and Luigi from the Bank of Italy. So I'm going to present on all the things that we have done and the output that we have generated from the input that we have put in this particular piece of work. So I have an outline of my presentation, and first I'll go into the introduction for the benefit of the new people who may not be aware of this program. I'll give a brief introduction, then I'll go to the common objectives of this particular exercise or program. Then I'll show an overview and the CPI coverage in Kenya in the traditional way, and then I go into the reason why the new way of collecting data will help us in this particular case. Then we are going to look at all the things that we have done in terms of negotiations with online platforms that provide us with this information and all the things that we have done so that we can be able to capture the information that you're going to showcase here. Then we are going to look at the data treatments, what we have done to the data that we have web scrapped, and then have a brief look at the elaboration. We're going to look at the results and then conclusions. So this program has started in July 2023, mainly facilitated by the World Bank. And Luigi from the Bank of Italy was one of the experts, together with Federico. And it has been going on until the first quarter of 2025. And we have been using this data to see how best we can apply it in the compilation of the CPI. And the common objectives of this particular program was to familiarize ourselves with the general characteristics of the web scraping techniques. So we were given a tutorial, a training on how we can actually go into these online stores, pick specific data sets. And that's why in the Kenyan case, we're using the targeted approach from our basket, the CPI basket that we use, and then try and pick those particular piece of information and the variables of interest so that we can use them in our compilation. And also having a practical guide to implement the use of the scrapping techniques. So we were taken through the whole process of how to come up with the codes, and specifically in our case, the Kenyan case, we're using R. So we are taken through that whole process on how we can use the code to basically web scrap this information from the online stores. You're going to see the distribution of these online stores and the specific online store that we actually settled on. And then how to automate the process of web scrapping. We're taken through that by our team of experts and having the practical guide on that. Then once we get this particular piece of information or data, how do we use it for the CPI production in the pipeline? So basically it's implementing the whole pipeline from getting the data all the way to compilation. And then of course there is a familiarization of the use of machine learning and large language models, and then consolidate and automate CPI calculation methodology, considering the new data sources. Then, of course, the visualization of the output and come up with a paper that shows all the above items and how we came up with that. Then we go to the next part. The overview of the Kenya and the CPI coverage. So basically, as you can see from that map, in Kenya, we have 47 counties. We have a devolved government, we have the national government, and also the county government. They are 47 in number. And for the CPI, we usually go and collect prices for all the around 330 items that are in the CPI basket in Kenya. So we go to all these counties where we collect all this information from. So among them are the things that we have in Kenya. We have the national parks, like Nairobi National Parks, Masai Mara. The reason why I'm mentioning these is because part of the items in the basket are the fees that we charge to enter into these national parks. They're part of the items in the basket. And if you probably want to view that, you can also go online and you find the fees and all that. So basically meaning that we can actually also go and pick this information from the website through web scrapping, other than the grocery stores that we are focusing on now. So meaning that much of the information that we may need to get for the CPI compilation can also be found online to a larger extent. So that's basically an overview of the Kenya and the CPI coverage in terms of collection of items in the CPI basket. So the data sources in this particular case, we have several online stores in Kenya. We have supermarkets. We have other online stores that deliver things that are not necessarily supermarkets. And the Kenyan market is growing at a very high rate. Most of the online brick and mortar stores have embraced the use of online stores where they upload their prices, their products, showing the description, which are the prices, the quantities, and all that. And then they're able to deliver to people, to households. So with this particular milestone, I think it will become very easy for us in future to be able to capture much of the information that we normally right now do the traditional way of going to the markets and collecting this information from the supermarkets and other informal markets. But for this particular case, we settled on the Carrefour supermarket, and I'll show you how we went through that. where it's a large online store, but we also have others like Naivas, Quickmart, but we are going to focus on the Carrefour supermarket for this particular case. So as you can see in the Carrefour supermarket, we have all the products listed there. We have the food items, and largely most of the things that are in the CPI basket, they are in the supermarkets, ranging from food products, other items that are used in the households. And then the other things, the few things that might be missing from the supermarket are things like services, the charges that are charged on services. So we settled on this one. And how did we go about that? We started by sending out some letters to the Carrefour management to allow us to be able to collect this information from the online stores. But ordinarily, on a normal day, when you're doing the the items collections of data from these stores, we usually have letters, and we visit them physically, and then we give them the letters, and they allow us to go and pick the information or collect the information from their stores. But in this case, we sent letters and also followed up with some contacts to be able to be given permission to do this. Also, one of the other things that we also do when we are doing this is we use a package in R called robot.txt that we first fire it up using in R that seeks for permission to download this data. And when it returns a positive, then we are able to go ahead and scrap that data, meaning that we have been given permission to go and pick the information. And I'll show a snapshot of that particular line of code that allows us to do that. How do we go about it? So we have routines to capture price data from the web, and this specifically for the Carrefour. So what we do is we have an R application that targets a specific product, and that's why it's a targeted approach. And we have been doing this continuously since the first day that we started this training. Once we got the required skills and all that, we went ahead and started now getting this data on a daily basis. So to ensure that we are able to collect this data from the 47 counties, we have to track the location of the specific website, the location of the specific website of that particular outlet. For example, if it is in the capital city, Nairobi, we have to choose which branch that particular, when we are scrapping, we choose the URL of the specific branch of that particular online store. So that's how we are able to pick the location of an online store and attach that to the specific location, which is very necessary for us in the compilation of the CPI. The prices, among the variables that we collect from this are the name of the product. We have the prices of the products, and they are usually in Kenya shillings. In Kenya, we mostly use the Kenya shillings. So most of these products, I think almost all are in Kenya shillings. And of course, we have the brand, variety, the packaging. We can also be able to capture the discount or that kind of information that has been provided on the website. So it's easy for us to do that. So what about the IT infrastructure that we use? Specifically, we targeted R. It's easier for us, having some previous knowledge in using R. And we run it on R Studio Editor. That's where I'll run the R for us to be able to come up with this whole script for downloading the data. We host it in our local computers, but in future, we will get enough facilitation. We should be able to have them in a cloud server so that we can automate it and be running on its own without much human interference. And we have the code in GitHub, and we also have shared folders where members of the team, as I mentioned earlier, are able to access this information and data once it is web scrapped. How do we execute these codes? We write the scripts ourselves once we are given the technical know-how to do that. And we run them locally in our computers. But in future, we want to have them running on our servers, which also requires us to have more expertise in this particular case and infrastructure, which includes the servers. All our machines runs on Windows. So basically, we are just running the R for Windows. And the packages and dependencies are installed. So basically, in this particular case, our packages of interest are usually Selenium and Harvest. For the Selenium, we use the R Selenium for R, which allows us to get information or scrap this data from dynamic website. Like for example, Carrefour is a very much dynamic website, so we have to use R Selenium. And for the basics website, we use Harvest to do that. The machines that we use, because of the number of products, having there 330 items in a food basket, that's a huge number, and because we have categorized, as you'll see in the script that in the script that I'm going to show, is that we usually have some staff who usually concentrate on specific products, and so we normally use the computers in our data science in the KNBS offices. They are equipped with internet, so basically the only thing that people need to do is to come and then start using the machines there. We usually do the data mining on a daily basis, and to monitor the progress, we have dashboards that we have created using RShiny that have included error pop-up messages. When we have new staff who wants to do the web scrapping, they are able to see the error messages that are popping up in case there's a problem with their scripts. Then the data storage infrastructure, we store them in our computers in the data science lab, but with the hope that you're going to have it stored in the cloud storage. And for the compilation, you're still using the old format of compiling the CPI, the one that we normally use. But in future, when we are able to have this data incorporated in the pipeline, then we should be able to have an R kind of a script that runs all the way from the web scrapping, cleaning, and then inputting the data into the pipeline for compilation of the CPI. And then for the database, we use an SQL database that is hosted in the KNBS server. So just a snapshot of what I have indicated up there in terms of seeking for permission to get the information, to scrap information from the website. We have all the libraries that we need there, but of importance is the robot.txt package that allows us to seek for permission for that. This is important because in government, we believe in all the fundamental principles of UN official compilation of official statistics, which includes the legal framework that must be followed when we are compiling or getting these data for use. And then under there, for the list of categories and their names, we can be able to see we have the categories of items that we scrap, and this is just but a few. And then we get the URL for the specific ones, and then we're able to get them through the various ports that we have there. Then from there, basically what we have done is that we have been able to come up web scrap over 120,000 cases or items from the food stores. And in our case, we are focusing on the groceries. 100,000 of them are from the Carrefour website, and the other ones from Naivas. And in future, we want to progress and then start getting information even from other online stores to complement what we have now. But basically, we have been able to get these huge quantities of data. In comparison to what we get, like for example, when we go to the physical stores, or brick and mortar stores, in a quarter we can be able to get 64,000 items. We can input items from these brick and mortar stores. But you can see from the online stores, because of the frequency and ability to capture this information very fast, we're able to get this information in a huge amount. And we are progressively getting data sets and increasing the frequency of web scrapping once we automate and schedule this particular scrapping technique. For the we are able to, together with the help of Luigi and Federico, we are able to have our data, process it, clean it, and basically using R. And then this is part of the output that we have gotten. This is Kenya Sugar. If you look at the CPI for Kenya, the official one is the line that has the blue line, and then we have the dot, the web scrap data. As you can see, there is a correlation between the two, where you see if like for example, if you look at the year 2024, September and October there is the official line CPI shows a decline, but the web scrapped, the CPI from the web scrap data shows a slight increase, But then when you go to the October and November, they have a similar pattern where we have an increase. And if you look at the year 2025, February and March, the official CPI shows a slight decline, and also the CPI from the web scrap data for sugar shows a decline. So showing that there is a correlation between the CPI that is produced using the current methodology of producing CPI versus the one that we have compiled using the web scrapping technique. Then if we go to another product like wheat, the white wheat CPI, the official one, I would pick on a date like September 2024 and October 2024. You see there is the official one shows a decline, but the web scrapped one shows an increase in the CPI. That is showing some contradictory output there. But when you go to October and November, December 2024, they are showing the same pattern where the CPI for the wheat flour remained almost the same, and that is a clear indication from the web scrapped data. If you look at the year 2025, February and March, the official CPI shows an increase, and which is an increase. And then from the web scrapped data, there also an increase, showing the same, indicating the same pattern from the web scrapped data and the official CPI. However, we are having several blanks in terms like, for example, June all the way to August 2024. This is basically because of lack of enough data to come up with this particular web scrapping CPI in this particular case. So this is just an overview of some of the items that we have been able to compile to come up with the CPI for these two products. So the results shows some good correlation between, specifically for sugar, except for wheat. But in some months, we can be able to see that there was good correlation between these two. So this indicates that if we are able to get this information at a higher frequency, more of it, then we should be able, and then we try with other food items, the grocery products, from different stores and have it properly cleaned and all that, we should be able to come up with a good CPI that mimics the one that we are able to produce now using the traditional method of data collection. So basically that is where we are as in terms of the collection and the results. For the conclusion is that in future with this particular training and more training in terms of, like, for example, when it comes to hosting of this information, because one, we'll be able to host these scripts on our servers, we should be able to automate them. So the access will be easy for the people who are compiling CPI, and also improvements in terms of the frequency, in terms of the number of products that can be web scrapped in a single day. So that is something that maybe will be able to promote or give better results of the CPI. And then we can have design integration of web scrap data in the current production pipeline. That is what you're looking forward to. So that now, because you're able to get this information, after probably we get this information on our servers and automate it, we should be able to have this information in our pipeline of the CPI. And then starting soon, we should have regular compilation of the parallel indices, and then we can compare the two indices, such until a time where we are able to comfortably say that since we're able to get this information well, we can now shift to the now the modern method of collecting this data. And extending this all to other areas, for example, real estate prices are now different from the grocery products that I have talked about. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that. Very interesting. Yes, please, let's share a reaction. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. There are questions coming in already, Peter. However, what we will do is hold those questions until the Q&A session, until we've heard all three talks, if that's okay. Thank you. You may stop sharing your screen And for everyone, if you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can put it in the Q&A channel, and we will deal with those questions later. Thank you. So next is Uganda, and we should have Robert and Edgar, who are going to share the work they've been doing to web scrape smartphone prices. Please, if you can share your screen. We are aware a couple of people are stuck in the lobby, and we are trying to bring them into the webinar, but we are struggling. So apologies to those who may be stuck.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Robert. We can hear you. I can see your screen. Again, can you go into presentation mode, please?
I was requesting if you could unmute Edgar.
Sure.
He joined as a guest. Hello?
Yeah, I'm just trying to make a presenter.
Edgar.
Okay.
Yeah. He needs to be unmuted because he joined as a guest.
I've just made him a presenter, so hopefully he's able to. He should now be able to unmute himself. Edgar, can you try to unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I hope I'm loud and clear.
You are.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here, happy to see you all. I will just give a simple preamble, then invite Bob to take us through the presentation, since he's the man who has been behind the wheel with my good friend Federico. So on behalf of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, I want to take this opportunity to thank the World Bank and in particular Federico for the support, and Luigi from the Bank of Italy, plus the UN Regional Hub for Big Data and Data Science for giving us an opportunity to showcase our project. Our presentation is about using web scraped data to compile the smartphone index in Uganda. Our project leverages on the advanced web scraping and AI techniques to develop the smartphone index, addressing challenges of measuring price changes for fast evolving technology products. We believe that with web scraping and these new techniques that are coming up, will definitely improve the CPI compilation processes in our country, especially for fast evolving products like smartphones, televisions, and we hope to extend it to maybe the real estate, especially housing index. I'm also happy to inform you that the data was collected from a source, which source brings together a collection of several other outlets. And of course, we wrote a letter to seek for permission to be able to scrape the prices. I'll not go into the methodology and the justification and the results, because I want Bob to do that. And at this junction, I'm going to request him to represent all those people you're seeing on the screen. He's going to be the flag bearer. So please, Bob, please take it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Edgar. I'll go through. So, John, briefly, this is our outline, what we shall look at. I'll take you through. Anyway, before that, we are a team. We are a team of different people. Edgar was heading us. So I have, like you can see down here, we have Alban, Edgar, Godfrey, and support from Federico and Luigi. So I'll take you through the introduction, and then we shall look at the justification why we did this project. Then we see some objectives, then the methodology we used to achieve this project, then the results, and finally the limitations. So briefly, what is web scraping? This is just an automated process where you extract data from various websites. And this extraction is done by using automated scripts or bots, which go into the website, extract this data, which comes as a hypertext markup language. This data is then converted into a structured format and stored in either a CSV format, JSON format, or in a database. So generally, this whole process is what you call web scraping. You have a Python script or a software. It is automated to go and collect data regularly from a different website, then store this data in a structured format. So some background. During the COVID-19 period, we experienced a shift where people started doing more of online marketing and online commerce. So these platforms helped were mostly for people were able to transition and now start buying goods and services online. So and some of the statistical agencies which have been using this methodology of web scraping, we have the UK, Netherlands, the New Zealand, Statistics Canada, among others. So why the need for web scraping? You realize smartphones, the prices of smartphones keep evolving or keep changing fast. And even the brands keep changing. So why UBOS has decided to take on this methodology is because of the changing prices and the brands of the different phones. And specifically, we are looking at the division 8 of the CPI, which is the information and communication. So the first objective of this project is to review the current methodology being used to compute the smartphone price index in the COICOP division. Then also to develop an improved adaptive methodology for compiling the smartphone price index. So the idea is we shall have 3 methodologies where we shall now look to see the limitations and the challenge and the benefits of each of these 3 methodologies. Now we can be able to take up one depending on the best outcome from each. Then the lastly would be to document the research findings from this project in a peer-reviewed academic paper. So as you can see, this was the methodology we followed. It has 4 different stages. So the first step was to collect the data, which is the data collection phase, and this was done through web scraping. It started in August last year. So we have been, this scraping is happening every week, once a week. Collects these prices regularly. So we have define our data model, which specifies the products to scrape and the features. So this now automatically does this. We're using a Python beautiful soup library. to do this automation. After data collection, we now process this data because the data comes when it is kind of messy. So we do some format harmonization. Some columns like the price column, which have like UGX, then the price we have to trim and remove the UGX, then we standardize it. We fix the corrupt dates. Some dates come when they are not in a proper date format. We handle some price ranges because when we scrape some of the prices, they come when they are in ranges. So we handle this in the data cleaning. Then we also remove the duplicates. Then from this stage, that's where we go to the data filtering and augmentation. And this we're using a methodology for it's called the large language model. What this large language model does is to classify these products into smartphones, feature phones, refurbished phones. So when the data is coming in at first, it comes when it is mixed up. It's mixed with phones, it's mixed with earphones. So we mainly want to focus on the smartphones. That's why we apply this large language model, which does the classification. It gets the unique products. After getting the unique products, it then classifies these products and extracts the features from these products like the RAM, the ROM, camera. Then we also deal with outliers where we remove products which have less than 100 data points. So generally, most of the biggest percentage of the process happens between data preprocessing and data filtering. That's where the most of the work happens. So from this part, that's when now we proceed to index calculation. And for the index calculation, we are using the method called the time product dummy method. And this works by we tried the simple strata method where it groups the phones by the brand and measures the price changes over time. What do I mean by this? You have like different phone brands like Samsung, iPhone. So it creates strata of these different phones. Like you have a strata for Samsung, you have a strata for iPhone. So now it is now going to compute and check the prices, how these prices of these different strata are changing over time, like from month to month. Then it also captures, it controls for the, why we text into the brand is because you can have, it controls for the fact that the Apple, like for example, Apple costs more than something like that. Why we use also the geometric mean is to cater for these prices, which are like outliers, which have, you find the phone is like 2 million and another one is about 500,000. So the geometric mean harmonizes this. The next methodology which we are trying out, because this is a pilot study we have implemented. The next methodology we are going to use is the weighted strata. This is it's similar to the simple strata, but it's going to give more importance to the brands. It will group the brands by the market importance. Then after that, it weights each group by the actual market share. Then lastly, the last method we are trying out also is the hedonic method, where we are going to, instead of using the brand, we are going to use the features, the different features, because we realize the simple strata method may have a limitation. Let me say if a phone, we have been monitoring a phone from say August up to January, and all of a sudden that brand disappears from the market. So we get issues with continuing or getting an accurate index for that phone. While when we use the hedonics, it will cater for these challenges or limitations, because it will now focus, instead of focusing on the brand which disappears, it will now look at the specific features of these phones. This is just explaining the data preprocessing phase. So the main part of the data preprocessing happens here. The Quen is our large language model, which is running on Olama engine. So this engine powers up this model to process about 6,000 raw products. So from these 6,000 raw products, it will filter out only smartphones. Like I said, it's going to classify and group our smartphones and separate them from the feature phones and refurbished phones. And this process took about 1 hour. And out of the 6,000, we managed to extract 3,500 smartphones. After extracting our smartphones, it then extracts the different features like the brand, the RAM, the storage, camera. All these are extracted using our language model. Outlines is a library which is just going to format our text, which is returned by the large language model. So from this stage, we now proceed to the index calculation using the simple strata method. What tools or what infrastructure are we using? We have a database, a Postgres database stored on our UBOS server. And on our server, it's on the Ubuntu server. We're using Python to do the extraction, transformation, and loading. Then we have outlines for formatting. So we have automated this process by using Extra to do the automatic extraction of these products once a week. That is the scheduling or automation we are talking about. So we schedule like it's supposed to run every Sunday at this time. Then this process automatically runs without someone coming to click or run the script. So a sample of the products which are scraped here, when the first time they come from the websites, as you can see, the bit not organized. The price columns have the UGX. The date formats are not in the correct formats. So when the data comes like this, it is now processed and cleaned and put in the right format and harmonized. So after pre-processing, you have a column called label, where you have the smartphone. It has classified it like these are the smartphones out of these many different features. Then it has the brand, Samsung, Itel, Techno, then the model of the phone. Then it shows whether the phone is refurbished or not, and whether it is a true smartphone. So in this 8-month period, we have scraped 67,000 products. And out of these 67,000 products, 6,180 are unique. And this has been classified using artificial intelligence. About 3,027 smartphones have also been analyzed and identified from so many records. And the monthly CPI for these products or for these smartphones has been computed using the time product dummy method and the regressions. So this is a sample to show you the price changes from the month of August, which we are considering to be our base period. So as you can see in September, there was a slight increase of 12%, 12.4%. Then as you go to October, there was also an increase of 4%. So you notice there was a decrease around November and December of 2.3 and 1.3%. Followed by, now when you went to January up to March, we noticed some slight increase also, shooting from 9 to 7. So some of the limitations we found, the brands of this method of using the brand as one of the independent variables is a bit challenging because the brand of these phones keep changing over time and they leave the market. So it makes it a bit hard to track or to compute the CPI to measure the CPI of these smartphones properly. Then as another limitation was the data cleaning. We needed to exclude only smartphones. Like I said here, in the label column, we had from the name column, we had to extract out only those features which are smartphones. So in conclusion, we are going to do a comparison to come up with the strengths and the limitations of these three methods, the simple structure, the weighted structure, and the hedonic. Then we shall document these findings and then start implementing one based on the one which is performing better. We plan to add more products which are like phones whose prices keep changing. The prices are a bit volatile, like a television. Then finally, we plan to write a research paper on these findings after our methodologies have been approved and are now implemented. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Robert. Very interesting presentation. Thank you everyone for sharing the love. Much appreciated for you, Robert. Questions will be coming in via the chat and the Q&A. Our presenters who've already presented, if you see a question and you would like to answer it in the chat, please do. I think we may run out of time. So please do make sure you're answering any questions that you see popping up. Thank you, Robert. Let's move over to our final NSO, Côte d'Ivoire. I think Frank is going to do the presentation. When you are ready, Frank.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'll adjust to, yeah, I think it's okay.
All good.
Yeah. Better. Can you show my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, and you're in the right one. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Migone Frank, and I am from our NSO in Côte d'Ivoire, which is known as ANSTAT. So ANSTAT stands for Agence Nationale de la Statistique. So you can translate in National Agency of Statistics. And what we are going to present today is a common work with different team members who are here today. So we have Traoré Siaka, and we have also Bakayoko Abdoulaye, and we have been also helped by World Bank experts, as previous presenter said. So it is basically a common work that we try to do. So this work is kind of a follow-up of training that we received in, I think, in September 2023 on modernization of CPI. So we got two main ways to modernize CPI. We have web scraping, and we have also scanning data. So we try to present what we try to do and run what's web scraping for price data. And we will make an emphasis on the way we tend to deal now with classification issues, which was one of the main difficulties that we encountered when we start our journey in web scraping. So here is the outline of this presentation. We will take a little about the context of the project. We will also show the COICOP classification. So COICOP stands for classification of individual conception by purpose. We will also go through the data collection way, the data processing pipeline, and just a little bit we will talk about languages and technologies that we used, and after some kind of conclusion and perspectives that we have. So basically what we try to do in our NSO is as other NSO, we collect data from local markets to compute and consumer price index, and in our local region in WAMU we have to compute in harmonized consumer price index. And what we try to do is to replicate the same thing but using web scraping and scanning data. So the main idea for web scraping was to collect data from selected platforms to just by the website, and if we have an authorization also to API that this platform can offer. So we try to properly process the data in an automatical and we have everything that we can show after on the dashboard. So those are the main function of the code. So we have, as we know, food, tobacco, we have clothing and footwear, we have some station. So in our we collect data for on a daily basis and for 8 of 12 function of the COICOP. So we have data of 1 and 2 function that we take from Jumia. We have also data for housing and yielding that we take from Latinat. We have also everything around clothes that we take from iWax. So those are different websites that we have in Côte d'Ivoire, and we collect data with automated process and daily around mid 2 a.m. to be sure that we don't have to go through internet ingestion. So just a kind of a structure of the data that we collect. So and we scraped data from those different websites. We collect is showed by the websites. We have also the quantity.
Frank, we are struggling to hear you. You are
on the product. So we
Frank, sorry, we are,
and we get also the quantity. We have also the price, which is our main variable. Can I go on?
Yeah, Frank, we are struggling to hear you. You are in and out. It must be your bandwidth. We keep losing you, but I don't know what the alternative is.
Oh, sorry. Let me try again.
It's okay. I think we should just keep going, and we can read your slides anyway.
Okay. So you have you have a different columns of the data that we scraped. So we have other characteristics of the data, and we have the units, and also we took the currency. So just to look a little bit of what we did more precisely, and we build some Python scripts for each website and that we want to scrap. So you have, and for each website, a completely and comprehensive Python script to go on the website and to collect data. So you have for Adjovan, for Jumia, and also for Auchan. So after that, we tend to put together all this data that we collect on daily basis from all those websites in a main folder, which is a TAM folder. And after that, we process and some treatment on the data within this TAM folder. So all those Python scripts are integrated in the main Airflow DAG. So it allows us to automatically also collect and make the first kind of processing of the data, and basically with some Python scripts, everything which is automated. So to talk about more on data collection, we want to talk about the coding and classification parts. And I just want to make some important point here is that what I represent in the next slide is basically based on what we call text embeddings. So I want to make a point on just give you in a nutshell what is text. So what we try to do is to convert what we have in text in kind of a vector. So we try to convert text as vector, and after that we can use some mathematical formulas to work on vectors or to compare whether those vectors are close or not. So basically, when we talk about the coding process, is we got our input data, which has been collected as I showed before with different process and Python scripts. And after that, we have the different columns. We have, as I said, label of products and also the characteristic of the products. So we tend to convert the label of products into vectors. So you can have a new vectors for the first row that we have here, which is as label of products. In French, it is code de port sample. So it is basically a run and dig mill. So we can convert this text into a vector through embeddings, and after that we will work with those vectors. So what we did really is to use to have three parts in our coding work. So the first one is to leverage a kind of LLM, not like the ChatGPT that we know, but it's also an LLM. It is a multilingual MNET-based V2. And what we did is for each row of our file, so for each row of input data that I showed here, we try to build a kind of new matrix with only vectors, which represents the information within the text. And we have also to put that into a kind of vectorial database. There are so many open source vectorial databases that you can use. Working with Liuji, we use Qdrans as a vectorial database. So we compute a kind of dictionary where you have the label of a product, which is the name here, and we have also the payloads that we can also call the document, which is kind of a vectorial information that we have on the label product. So we build this database where we go from the Excel file with input data as text to another file, which is a dictionary where you have the label of the product, which is the name, and you have also the vector, which represents this label of product. And the second part was to now try to code the new data that we collect. So we build this database with already and manually coded data, because in the first 6 months of work, we manually code the data. And after that, we try to collect data for 1 month. And for this month, we try to use this coding process. So we put those data into the same LLM. So it also builds some vectors from the data, and we use a kind of cosine distance to compute and to look at which is the closest vector for the new data from our database that we build with manually code data. So you can look at for the closest. You can also look at for the 3 or the 4 closest. And when you look at for the 3 or 4 closest, you will have to use a kind of because you will get different results. So you can use a kind of majority vote to identify the right code that you will get. So those are the 3 main parts. The first one is to build a database from manually coded data. The second part is basically to look at the closest vector from the new data in your database, and as soon you identify this vector, you get the manually given code from this old vector from your database to the new data that you collect. So this kind of just at a glance the result file that you have. So it is not always true. The first row that we have, the ground truth code was 1011703, and the code given by the coding process was 1011201. But for the next rows, we tend to have more true answers. Working with a 1 month data that we scrapped, and with also the key rent based that we compute from manually coded products, and we tend to get a kind of pretty interesting accuracy. So 88.54%. And we have also a recall of 75.94%. So what we are doing right now is to get a more interesting and a bigger QDrent database. So we are using manually coded data to be sure that in the next weeks or in the next month, we'll have a bigger manually coded database that will allow us to use this coding process at scale. So there are also other parts of our web scraping process. So as shown by the colleagues from Kenya and also from Uganda, we have to make some treatment on the data and to compare month over month, also price index to be sure that the price are not outliers. So we work on this part too. And after that, we compute less per index of our data that we scrapped also. So basically, those are the different parts. So we collect. We don't have for now a database as Postgre or MySQL. So we use some kind of files. We just have a file system with different CSV or packet files for the different products for each function, and after that we put that together for the dashboard that we want to do. And the technology that we used, basically Airflow to automate everything. We use only Python, not R. And for data storage, we tend to use now IO, and we want to use also Angular and Delta Lake as our database. So you can get everything that we did here for the main web scraping process. You have on GitHub, which is GitHub of our departments, and which is the left. And for the coding part, which is kind of a new things that we are doing, we have another GitHub for that. It is Codif RAG IHPC. So as I said before, what we want to do in the next part is basically to be able to get more data in our Qdron database process, and to be able to leverage those large language models to really code more than CPI, but also all other data that we have, maybe in labor force survey, also in business survey. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Frank. Very interesting. Very interesting 3 presentations. And we have run over quite significantly. However, I hope we all appreciate that there's a lot of information to share from a lot of good work. And it's good to see the experiences of three different areas of web scraping for the CPI. Thank you to our 3 speakers. Please, can we let's look at the Q&A. We don't have much time. We can run over a little bit if people are able to stay. I can see in the chat that Peter has already answered some of the questions that came in earlier following the Kenya presentation. But there are 3 questions in the Q&A channel, which I'm going to jump to, and I'm going to start at the bottom one, which I think was whilst Peter was presenting for Kenya. From Victor. Good morning, Victor from Ghana. My question is, how can we use this methodology in a sector with large informal market and do not have standardized weight for items which are in the CPI basket? Would anybody like to answer this question from Victor?
Gary, if you want, I can say something about this more general question, and then Luigi, I don't know. Yeah, of course, this is a more general question about the use of web scraping technique. Of course, you focus the attention on 2 main, let's say, limitations that we have when we use the web scraping techniques, because of course, web scraping techniques are mainly aimed at capturing price information on markets that are well organized and less informal, because they have the chance to use the web as a shelf, shelves to offer products at certain prices. So it's difficult that you can use this kind of techniques for areas where you have so much informal sector in the market. And on the other hand, we have a big problem with the weights, because in general this is one of the limitation that you have when you use web scraping techniques, because in general web scraping the data does not bring weights information. This means that you have to approximate in a way, if you can, the weights of the different products that you capture in order to use this kind of approach. So that means building and compiling weighted indices. But in general, this is an limitation of the web scraping techniques. Having said this, we have always to remember that in the measurement of inflation, our aim is to capture the evolution of prices. So even if you have a market with a large informal sector, but the web scraping is available, the web market is available for also a small but not negligible share. If we are able to detect the evolution of prices, the use of web scraping techniques is in any case very helpful.
Thank you, Federico. Did anybody want to add anything else around the weight situation? Or are we good to move to our next question, which is from Norman. Again, it was around the Kenya presentation. You mentioned there are 47 counties in Kenya. Actually, I think this question was answered in the chat. Let me go over to the chat. Peter did answer it. When the prices are different in different outlets across the country, Peter says to accommodate this aspect, we first select the branch before applying the data mining code. So yes, these are things you need to consider when you have these price variations across regions. We have a question from Rejoice. Thank you, Uganda, for the great presentation. How is the web scraped index movement for smartphones compared to the published ones in the official CPI? Robert, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still on. Now, kindly repeat the question.
Yes. How is the web scraped index movement for smartphones compared to the published ones in the official CPI?
So now we have not been able to do that comparison because we first want to try the three methodologies, the one for the weighted strata, where we look at the market share value for the phones, then this other one for the hedonics, because we want to get a true picture from these three methodologies before we do a proper comparison. So after we have done experimented these three methodologies and discovered the best, we shall now put it into production. Yes.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you for that. Does anyone have any other questions for our presenters? We've been asked to share the GitHub links for the RAG. I'm not sure what RAG stands for, but we will share everything after the webinar. We will share a link to this recording and all of the presentations. And I think all of the GitHub links were inside the presentations.
Kerry, did you go through the question of Norman? Sorry, because I...
Yes, I did. Yes.
Yeah, is that about the coverage, you know, of the... Yeah.
Yeah, and Peter had answered so it's in the chat as well. Peter has answered it.
Okay.
If you wish to add something, please do.
No, I don't want to add anything now because I think one is in the Q and answer area and the answer may be in the chat, but anyway, okay, good.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to add anything. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. We have a question from Paladi, I think from Botswana. I have just made sure you can open your mic, Paladi. Can you see if you can take... Yes. What's your question?
Okay, thank you. Well, you also want my picture?
Well, I don't... Do you want to?
I don't think so. Then it's fine. I think mine is just a general question. Whether is it possible for UN Hub to do just a workshop for some of us who have not yet started anything so that we can understand what is going on? And then we thought about this application physically. The other one for the participant is on the legal aspect. How do they handle the legal aspect of this, getting this scrap prices on the web? Thank you.
Great questions, Paladi. Thank you. We will take away your request regarding more web scraping training for those NSOs who haven't received anything yet. We will take that away. But Federico, would you like to say something around the legal aspects of web scraping? We do know there are ethics.
Yes, this was one of the points that we discussed in particular with the colleagues of Kenyan and Uganda Bureau of Statistics. We handled this kind of these issues trying to establish a connection with the owners of the web pages that we decided to scrape. And I think that at the end it was successful because we had, for Jumia, we had a meeting with Jumia. We sent a letter together with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. We had a meeting where they said that that the UBOS can scrape the data from their website without any kind of issues, and this is what happened. So they are going to regularly scrape the data without any kind of obstacles. And with Carrefour, the same, Peter already said, and but also the colleagues from Uganda, that we had some contacts with them in order to guarantee the possibility to. Of course, these are not strictly legal issues, are main issues of relationship with the data providers, but of course, in a legal environment that allow to scrape the data without restriction. The restrictions are mainly from the providers, and the restrictions from the providers were handled through a preliminary approach with them in order to avoid any kind of blocks to the robots that we have been using together with the colleagues to scrape the data.
Thank you, Federico. Paladi, does that answer your question?
Okay, no, it's fine. I have been answered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paladi.
Excellent. Okay, we have another question. I'm just allowing the mic from Mizanesh. I've allowed your mic. Please ask your question.
Okay, thank you for the organizers and the presenters. It was a wonderful presentations. I just want to ask, is this web scripting script is also applicable for collecting other data sets like climate and environmental indicators, or it is specific only for price index?
Did you say collection? Did you say collection? Did you say collection for climate?
Climate and environmental data indicators. Is it also applicable for that purpose?
Interesting question. Can anyone respond to that?
Okay, I can take this one. I would say yes, as long as you have a reliable source of information for the data you're looking for. I mean, web scraping is simply a way to access some data over the internet and archive it for a structured use. So if you have a source of data which can be used that publish the data that you are looking for, yeah, potentially web scraping is a source, is a tool that you can use.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, it all, like we said, for everything it depends also on the term and condition of who published this data. You know, so sometimes this data, they have their own term and condition about how can you access and what can you do with the data that is available. So that's need to be checked.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the response, Luigi. Okay, we have another question from Siaka. You should be able to open your mic.
Okay. Morning, everyone.
Hello.
I want to say big congratulations for all of as our colleague for her presentation. My question is for our colleagues from Kenya and Uganda. I'm from Cote d'Ivoire, and I want if he can share with us the most problems he was got in the process of scrapping data in the website, and the solution is the solution did apply. This is my question. Sorry for my English.
Is your question directed at anyone? It was for Kenya and Uganda. Yeah.
Yes, for the colleagues from Uganda and Kenya.
Thank you. Peter or Robert, would you like to respond?
Yes, can I go first, Peter?
Peter can go first.
Okay, thank you so much. Mine, because the question is on the challenges that we faced while doing this and probably the solutions that we had for this. I would say the challenges were as we were developing the tools, because of course you don't have all the information that you need to develop a very good tool for this. So with the help of Luigi and Federico, we're able to come up with this. And basically, for example, in the Kenyan case is the dynamic nature of the website that we are dealing with. So for you to be able to scrap data from a dynamic kind of a content-based website, it requires you to have more advanced skills. But with the solution was learning, basically learning on a daily basis on how to go about it. And eventually we're able to do that. So that was the main problem, especially dealing with the dynamic websites. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And Robert, did you want to respond?
Yes, we first think like two challenges. The first one, when we were scraping from the websites, so we discovered this data comes as how can I say it? Comes when it's not organized. Say like we need only smartphones, so it comes when it's mixed up with different other things like the earphones, the battery, the power bank. So solution we did was to classify them with the large language model that was in the data pre-processing stage of the methodology. Then another one was the changing brands or the brands of the phones, some of them disappearing after some months. So that's why we are proposing now, we are experimenting using the hedonics method, which will help us cater for this challenge, because it will now compute the prices basing on the features of phones rather than the brand only. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you. We have a question from Juliet. You should be able to open your mic. Please, what is your question?
And I thank the presenters for the very good work done. Being a compiler of CPI in Uganda, this is timely and we need it most, especially for the fast evolving products. So these evolutionary products are very, very tricky to monitor. And that's why we have the smartphones like the Ugandan case, the television sets. It's a variety which keep changing time on. So we need them and it will be a good thing. But just a point of caution for other compilers of CPI to be cautious while applying it for certain items. Certain items, the traditional methods are still key and should be still used instead of web scrapping because of the nature of the products and our kind of market. For example, when compiling the CPI, we have so many rules we follow, even when it comes to the expiry dates, so many things. So some suppliers will put up these things when they're about to get expired, and the web scrapping will not know, and they will not indicate the date of expiry. And so the quality will not be determined. Some products might be soiled, or they've spent some time on the shelf. So in CPI, we do not consider them. We don't consider such prices. So it comes in as a limitation. But this method of compilation using the web scrapping is very good when it comes to fast evolving, because honestly speaking, the traditional methods are failing. We have to do a lot in order to cater for that problem. So web scrapping, I fully support, and hope to get more support in order to capture these fast evolving products, the smartphones. But when it comes to food and certain items, we need to move slow. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much for those additional comments, Juliet. These are
Sorry,
really
Juliet,
appreciated.
from where do you speak? Sorry, because maybe I lost your.
I'm a compiler from Uganda. I had the.
Yeah, in Uganda. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Right,
Sorry, I lost your. Yes, thank you. Sorry.
I'm just checking the chat. I do feel that maybe we are coming to the close. It's 4:45 with me. It's quite late. There was in the chat, Mamawazi from Namibia. I think it's been answered. I want to know the importance of type of phone used for data collection. And Alban has said the type of phone doesn't have anything to do with application or method. It's advisable to use HBS before scraping. Okay, that's been sorted. Okay. Are there any more pressing questions from the audience, or do we all feel we've had a really good session? I'm just checking everything, because time is ticking. If everyone is comfortable, then I would like to draw this webinar to a close. I would like to, Juliet, can you close your mic? Juliet, did you have another question? Or please, can you close your mic? Okay. I'd like to draw the webinar to a close. I would like to express my thanks to Federico Polidoro, Luigi Palumbo, I won't remember all the surnames, but Peter, Robert, and Frank from our 3 NSOs. Thank you so much for sharing with us and for answering questions. I did put an evaluation form into the chat, and we will share that again with you all via email. I think this is all I wanted to say at the end of this. It's been really insightful. I'm really excited for the future. I'm hearing the requests for more training in this area. We will take that away and we will see what we can do. I think that's us closed. Thank you everyone for being here and for the presenters for sharing with us. And for all of the questions. Thank you so much.
Many thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.